Well, good morning, everybody. We appreciate you taking time today to come on to a GROWL Connex event. Typically, we would hold these events and record them in person. We are now having virtual GROWL Connex events, and due to many reasons, obviously. So we are going to have these events, we're looking at hosting them monthly, weekly. And right now with different, we're bringing on different speakers, different industries. I'm going to ask Kim to be involved when she can, because she's keeping a running list of all the great resources for people and businesses. And so it's going to be really important for us to kind of continue to have these conversations on an ongoing basis virtually. And we were kind of talking before we got started here about how we have different types of people that, we're so used to going to face-to-face meetings and networking events and chamber meetings and things like that, like I'm used to doing, and that all came to a complete halt. And so now we're going to look at, well, how should we keep connected to the community? How do business leaders learn about these things? There's a lot of great information out there. There's a lot of false information out there, which I think, Kim, you and I have been talking about. So I'd like to get started. Again, my name is Greg Olson. I'm the founder of GROWL Agency. We have a wonderful team in downtown Grand Junction. And I really, the star of the show is Kim Woodworth with Economic Development Council of Colorado. So Kim, I'd like to give you a second to kind of introduce yourself and tell everybody what EDCC is.
Great. Thank you so much, Greg, for having me today. I am the Operations Director for the Economic Development Council of Colorado. We are a nonprofit industry association that supports economic development efforts across the state of Colorado. We have been working very closely with our state partners to help disseminate through the information and then create a channel of communication to be certain that we are reaching all facets of our state, from local to statewide, to our businesses, to our strategic partners. And so as much communication as we can have through these channels, and also, making certain that we are, creating content that is valuable to the end user, but also helps us be able to get through what we're going through right now. And the challenges of doing these things from home. You do have dogs in the background, so I do apologize. As a friend said, you can't put a mute on a dog. So anyway, so she'll be barking. I do apologize.
That's okay, Kim. Some of us, as we were getting ready to have this call, luckily we dialed in early, which is a good virtual talking tip. My dog decided to yank everything off of my desk as she got tangled in the cord. So here we go. We'll have dogs barking, kids hopefully laughing, and that's okay. One of the things I want to start, about 30-minute discussion or so, and then if we have questions, you can go into chat. And we're already seeing some come in. But I'd like to talk about, a lot of things people have been asking me is, what should we be doing now? I mean, what's happening over the next month? I mean, we don't know how long this can continue, what's going to happen. So a little bit about kind of those, are there resources available today, Kim? And, what's some thoughts and what are you hearing out there?
So we know for now, the most immediate assistance that has come out, and it was announced yesterday that Colorado, all 64 counties are now eligible for the SBA low interest federal disaster loan. And so businesses can begin applying for that immediately. And we do on our website, as well as choosecolorado.com and edcconline.org. Both have pages for COVID-19 and resources. So there are links that will take you to the SBA place where you can actually apply for the loan.
So Kim, can you say that? We are going to send out a recap of this and a link to everybody, and we're going to give it out to different entities that they want to share, and we'll have a little write-up with these links that you're talking about, of course, but and maybe we can also share a screen. But what was that link again? Just if you can say that again for EDCC link.
So the EDCC link is edcconline.org / COVID-19 resources. A lot of the information that's coming onto our website is actually starting. So a lot of that information comes from choosecolorado.com / COVID-19.
Great. Well, let's continue on. I think, we're looking at all these resources coming in. I know we're going to have federal and state resources, and I know we're going to have other types of resources on here or coming available, and we'll continue to monitor that and get that out as we're planning. So one of the big things I'm talking to different businesses about, and as I have conversations sometimes until 10, 11 o'clock at night, and then, is should you be planning now? I mean, as we get through to this, because now that people agree that it's going to be going on for a while, I think that's some of the concern is like, these things I can be doing now and into 6 months, and people are confused about what is an SBA low interest loan. We know that Facebook has some small business grants. We know a lot of these things are happening. So I guess there's just a lot of confusion out there. So I don't know, kind of guidance that you're seeing or things that we'd like to tell people.
So we do. We have we do have a lot of immediate assistance that is available right now. And as you had mentioned and alluded to, Facebook has created a small business grants program. The El Palmar Foundation has small business grants for nonprofit entities. Kiva, which is a nonprofit lending organization, also has developed 0% interest loans. So very interesting concept there. Again, a lot of this is found on choosecolorado.com / COVID-19. So we have the loan assistance programs, and I know that there's been some concern about loans versus actual cash coming to these businesses. This is a very short term. These are low interest rate loans that will help you be able to get through this short term. And really, in a business sense, these are very short term issues, and so it'll help you ride the wave, if you will. And then we also have through our workforce and supporting our workforce, we do have some alternatives to laying off employees. So before businesses they think that they have to lay off, do the research. We do have our Colorado Department of Labor and Employment has a work share program, and so they will share half the burden. So if your employees have to go half-time, then the employees can apply to be able to get assistance for the other half. And then that way it just helps us kind of continue working, but also helps you on your bottom line. We also have transition assistance. And so we don't want to just drop our employees and have them have to go through the process of having to go through the unemployment insurance process, but we do have through Colorado Department of Labor and Employment, they do have assistance programs to help us move those employees into other work. We also have the CDLE had required a paid sick leave from employers to help assist with those employees who might have flu-like symptoms, give them 4 days if they didn't normally have sick leave. So they are requiring businesses to cover that. And it is really only a 4-day period until they find out whether or not they have it or not. There is on CDLE's website, there is a list of what businesses are required, including our leisure and hospitality, food services, childcare, education, and there's more, but all of those links again are found on these web pages. And then we're also seeing, and this is the most recent, which is really amazing. And honestly, as an economic developer, we really tout the importance of business task forces or coalitions. As our businesses come together, they're able to resolve large issues and help us get through, you know, whether or not it's a workforce issue or if it's a funding stream. Our business coalitions have always been a really strong way of being able to get through those times. So that's the most immediate things that we're seeing right now, as we are all working very hard behind the scenes to come up with opportunities and new funding streams and ways to keep the economy going.
Yeah, and I think some of the conversations we're having as with other business leaders and that, as I talked about, is I think it's probably important to start looking at activating some of these loans now for your own business versus waiting too long, because my feeling could be, and I'm not sure if you can tell me, like from a state side, how they're going to support all these requests that are going to come in, right? Because it's much like the healthcare, so anything, there's only so many people that are going to be able to have these look at applications and things like that. So I don't know, do you have any thoughts on that? Because I think I'd rather see businesses be ready to have money available versus waiting until they're just at their last nickel and then, you know, trying to get a hold of somebody. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. So
I do think that it will help once, you know, I keep the term of planning the comeback keeps coming back and resonating with me every day. But if you are planning for that comeback, giving yourself a little bit of that wiggle room to be able to take on more, infrastructure or what it's going to take for you to come back, having that loan there and the assistance is definitely going to help you.
Yeah, I agree with that. I like that planning for the comeback. I think that's what we're all kind of figuring out our plan. It is shifting every day, at least from our standpoint at GROWL. We're having different conversations with different, with clients. We're kind of figuring out what that looks like. We kind of have a month by month plan as what could happen with this as this could go into the summer. I think one of the questions that talked, as I wrote down some things, we feel like sitting ducks, waiting for something to happen. I think, people are asking, like, what should they do? How should they be a part of their community? What are we seeing out there? I mean, I see things from like restaurants how they're trying to integrate with, the community and things like that. So, these are kind of like really, I guess it could be scary times. So I don't know, what you're seeing out there and, what your economic development partners are seeing across the state. That's what I find so fascinating about being a member of your organization is, you talk to these other really smart individuals from in communities like Hugo, which is one of my favorite little rural towns I like bringing up. And, because it's just that there's these entrepreneurs that are just making stuff happen. So, that's how I think we're going to get through this, is sharing these ideas community by community, right? And, I'm going to be looking for people that I can talk to in some of these other villages, right, too, that in like what is happening. And so I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
So I saw on the news the other day, someone had said trepidation is a scary thing, obviously. And so we can't live in our fear, but Americans are doers. And we're asked not to do anything right now. We're asked to sit in our homes and wait this out. And so what can we be doing? And we're already starting to see businesses reimagining what they can do. So all businesses, serve a good. They have services, they have goods. What can those goods and services do to help us right now through these phases? So we've, for instance, we have a story of, a distillery who is using their 100-proof alcohol to turn it into hand sanitizer, and they're donating it to the hospitals. We have car manufacturers who are now starting to make as many masks as they can to get to our medical providers. So what can we do as businesses to be looking at the services that we provide to help get us through this as quickly as we possibly can so we all can get back to work?
You know, I really like that. And you are exactly right. I was talking to some local hospitals and, you know, what they're working with different churches to make masks in the event that they need them. They're, you know, and I love the hand sanitizer because you can't find any. And who knew this was going to be a thing, you know, and like, you know, and I think every person probably knows how many rolls of toilet paper they have at this point, which I never thought would be a thing. Like, you know, like my 11 rolls, you know, it's like, then you have to start doing, I know, we all do toilet paper math. Yeah. And I think we're going to get into those things like, you know, how do we buy local, right? And I think that's the thing. I'm going to bring in Diane Schwenke from Grand Junction Chamber, and Libby, if you could unmute her, please. And I think, you know, one thing, I'm a huge advocate of chambers. And I think a lot of times they're just, they work so hard, and I've been a member of chambers for as long as I can remember. And in the Western Slope, I'm actively involved in all the chambers. And I think, you know, this is where we really have those resources. And, you know, and I know Diane's team is working very hard behind the scenes to get information. And so, Diane, can you hear us?
You bet.
Thank you for being on. It's not, you know, I don't always know we have these calls and meetings. I'm not sure who's going to be there, but thank you for being here. Diane has been putting stuff in the chat for me. So I'm like, yeah, I could probably talk about this and say what you said, Diane, but I think it's better if I just bring you on and kind of maybe have you and Kim take over, and we can call it the Kim and Diane show at this point. I'm just trying to bring these resources together, and we're going to share out. And Diane, I know you guys are working really hard to get information out too. So I'm going to just let maybe you and Kim kind of talk back and forth here about some of the things that you're seeing, Diane, and resources, because this is really what this is all about, is how do we get these information out to people.
You bet. And good morning, Kim. Good to see you. We see each other fairly regularly in this format.
So Diane, just introduce yourself for the recording, so people
Sure.
know, like when I send this out, and if someone in Alaska watches this, I mean, you know, that, and if you could speak in 4 languages, that'd be great too. I'm joking. So go ahead and introduce yourself. Yeah, go ahead and introduce yourself, because I know you've only been doing this a couple years. I'm joking, but you know, so, and you have a lot of insight in this. I've been on trips with you, legislative trips. I've learned so much just being in different sessions, and now this is where really chambers come together to like help people. So go ahead, just a quick introduction, and then go into what you want to talk about.
Sure, you bet. Diane Schwenke with the Grand Junction Area Chamber of Commerce. And a couple of things. I really appreciate, Greg, your comments about chambers. We actually have a Zoom chat later this afternoon with all 4 chambers in the Valley and some of our policymakers, our state legislators and local lawmakers, to kind of talk about what's going on. I will tell you, I'm sorry, I have been kind of filling up the chat box. There's a few things that I think everybody needs to know, and we're trying to push this out as quickly as possible as well. But the landscape is changing so quickly. We will have a link to applying for those SBA economic disaster loans, and my understanding is that may be open as early as today. But I think what's important for people on this call to know is that John Marashine down at the Business Incubator Center is making his team available and is encouraging you to reach out to them so that you have everything in order to apply for those loans, including an updated, at least simple business plan and some other things, because SBA requirements are still in place for those loans. And the other thing that has changed rapidly is that while the state of Colorado mandated paid leave for 4 days, the latest piece of legislation that was signed by President Trump in the last 48 hours requires all employers to offer up to 12 weeks of paid medical leave related to COVID-19. And the federal government intends to help with that cost by offering you tax credits on your federal payroll tax filings. So they're going to try and help you out with that. But again, everybody, and it doesn't matter what size business you are going to be required to do that. We are obviously, we're trying to update resources. I know that GGEP has a resource page. Ours is being updated almost hourly and will be available. One of the things that I think is really important is to, where we can, support our restaurant folks. They were the ones that were hit first with all of this. And we actually have a takeout toolkit that gives you a link that takes you right to the online menus. Which makes it very easy to do. And so I do want everyone to know that we've been working in a series of economic development conferences, video conferences here. Earlier, we were on one Wednesday with all of our ED partners to figure out ways that we can help keep cash in the hands of the small business owners so that they can have the cash flow. There will be a action by the Grand Junction City Council on Monday evening to basically forego the payment of remittance of your sales tax to the city for the month of March. If you've already paid it, you're going to get it back in the form of a check. If not, you won't have to remit it. That was actually a suggestion from one of our small business owners. One of our small restaurant owners said, can you work on that? I have made that same request to the administration at the Capitol as well. So I have requested of the governor's office that they look at some sort of a tax deferral of process that allows these small businesses to keep their cash for right now. A number of states are doing that. The example I sent them was from South Carolina, which again, at the state level, no sales taxes are being collected and other things until June in that state. So those are some policy things that are in the works at the local level in particular that I know where we're looking at. We're also talking to Mesa County to see if we might be able to do some tax deferrals there as well. So again, we're looking at every possible angle to make cash immediately available to our small business community.
Yeah, and one thing I will tell you, look at all your local chambers. And again, I get every one of the chambers in the Valley, and probably people that are from all over if you listen to this, that's a great place to start. Your economic development, a lot of times they're similar in different communities as I work across the country. These are people that are really closely tied, would you say, Kim and Diane, to the local state level. I'm just trying to get people like where to go, not only local, but what is your, if you're calling in Alaska or North Carolina or wherever, what would you ask these business owners to do? Would you say, go listen to your chamber, your economic development, or, what kind of words of advice would you have for them to look for?
Well, and I would just say, go ahead and reach out to them. We have our full staff of 6 has been in probably nonstop communication with our members. I've taken phone calls from small business owners. We sent out a survey earlier this week, and at the bottom of it said, if you want us to reach back out to you, give us your name. And we had 35 businesses so far that have said, we want to talk to you about something, or we want to hear from you. And so don't be shy. This is the time to use your local economic development and chamber resources.
Correct.
Yeah, Kim, what do you have for that too? Because I know I want to talk, as I've been around the country or state, what do you have for recommendations with that? Outside of local too, just trying to give people some things to think about.
Yeah, and economic development organizations can look like a lot of different things. They can be a private organization, they can be within a municipality, they can also be a regional organization, or for instance, with our Denver Metro Chamber, we also have the Metro Denver EDC, and they're part of under the same umbrella, if you will. So they can look like different organizations, but they're all working together. They all work very closely with their chambers of commerce. The whole goal for what we do is making certain that our businesses are successful, that they're growing and building, and that they are creating jobs. And that's, at the end of the day, we want everybody creating jobs. So we're here to support the businesses in what they do every day. So reach out to them. It's, the phone is off the hook and it's okay. That's what we are here for.
Yeah, Diane, one of the things we started with, if you kind of from the beginning of the call, I don't know if you have any advice for we have this kind of 0 to 4 week mentality, right? Of like, people getting ready. And so you kind of heard us talking about getting loans and getting information. Now we're kind of everybody's in information gathering because new bills are being written, counties are doing this. And I think, thank you very much, both of you, because that's the point that we're just, next week we're going to have, I know, a lot more information, and I'm going to, Diane, you're going to have more information coming out by a webinar. So I don't know what you have, if there's advice, because Kim and I are being asked, like, 0 to 4 weeks, then 1 month, and then how do we, you heard us say things like planning for the comeback. So, and what are your thoughts on that? Just putting you on the spot there, Diane.
That's okay. I'm used to it from you, Greg. But honestly, I think at this point, that's probably the biggest angst for any business owner that I'm talking to, is we just don't know how long this is going to last. And I think that is what's weighing on the minds of everyone, whether you're an employee or a business owner. I think, I do think it's important at this point to maintain communications with your customer base. That's what I've been telling everyone. It's like, first of all, get a hold of your banker, get a hold of your utilities if there are, or your landlord if there are bills you cannot pay right now today. Most of them are willing to work with you and extend payments. But then the second thing on your list is to maintain some communication with your customer base. And if there's an option, I'm seeing so many creative options in terms of businesses adapting practices right now today that they may be able to actually incorporate in their overall business model going forward. And a case in point is the Palette, our downtown, painting studio. And Claire is putting together kits for kids. So for those, we all know the kids are going to be out of school for the next 3 weeks. She posted it on Facebook, said, I've got kits ready. I've got the canvas, the paints, the brushes, $15 a piece, pre-order. And she opened at 2, and by 2:20, she had all of those kits sold out. And so that was a case of realizing realizing what your customers need right now and trying to respond to it. And if there's not a creative way that you can do that, like Claire, at least just communicating with them, letting them know what's going on with you, so that when you do come back through on the other side of this, you still have those customers.
I completely agree with that. And I've been seeing those stories too, like, the local Sculpt Cycle here in downtown Grand Junction, indoor cycling. They have, allowed you as a member to take a spin bike home and have to continue that workouts at home. And they're really trying to engage, keep their membership, dollars coming in, and they're doing really great things. I know, wineries are talking to maybe it's things like, how do we get people to come out, even though there's no tasting, but to buy a bottle of wine? Maybe it's picking up that pottery kit or something like that. So we're finding these really innovative ways that people are trying to keep revenue going. And I know downtowns are doing special things. Like if you go and have takeout at a restaurant, show us your receipt and we'll give you 25% off of a bottle of wine or whatever is available. So really, I think it's these business owners that are starting to talk to each other and come together, and that's what we're starting to see. So, I believe that social distancing, doesn't mean, we have to stay away from each other, right? It's a new way of how do we engage, right? And I think Kim and I talked about that, I always joke, it's like an introvert's dream right now, that they can be like, okay, this is my world of, I can be on chat and I can be on, some video, but I think social distancing is a way that we can actually, how do we come together without being next to each other, right? And so we're going to learn new things, and I think we're really going to have to support. One of the things I do want to talk about in the future is a list of all these examples, Diane, that we're starting to see of these kinds of businesses. Because again, as a business owner, you get kind of so tense and so looking at, I'm looking at cash flow statements and we're looking at loans. You forget about how to be creative with these things. So I think if we start to show some of those ideas along with all the COVID resources, it'll help people brainstorm and be like, oh, I know someone in my community that does this or does that or can do hand sanitizer, or, I think that's what we're trying to do, is how the chambers have always been so wonderful, and you guys do such a great job. And I'm glad you're having that big call with everybody, because you pull people together and be like, hey, let me introduce you to somebody. You guys should talk, and then they can figure it out. So I think my hope is at the outside of this that we become a more ingrained and closer community. I think that's really what we're going to happen. I mean, I'm already seeing neighbors home coming out. People are like standing across the street, like waving at you, like, I can't come over there, but my name's Bob. I'd love to, you know, what's your name again? Because we come home, we just go in our garages, go to our backyards. So I think people are going to start like wanting some human contact without, you know, 6 feet away or 10 feet away or whatever our rules are. So, also, I'm going to go to that. So Libby, are you still on? Do you want to make an announcement about something happening and an idea of what's going on downtown?
Yeah, Libby Olson, principal of GROWL agency. I have been chatting with Brandon Stamm, who's the executive director of downtown Grand Junction. And he just sent over an email letting me know that something that's coming next week. We are going to be offering, if people spend $25 downtown, the downtown Grand Junction will send them a $10 downtown Grand Junction gift card. So that's going to be coming next week. So check out the downtown Grand Junction social channels and website. We'll have a place for you to be able to upload your receipt, and then a downtown gift card will get mailed to you. So to try and encourage some of that spending downtown with businesses.
So Libby, so can you talk just quickly? And I want to make sure we don't ignore people's time, but I want to. Can you talk about maybe a recommendation if you're in another community outside of Western Slope, like the DDA, what that is, the bid, or, you know, again, you can work with your local chamber on this, but maybe if you look at your community and when, like, what is that you're at that maybe they can look for in their own community?
So this is really more around the Business Improvement District. It's an entity that really supports bringing in visitors to the downtown space. So that's really, so it's really, you know, what are the resources available? Are there support mechanisms through your city, through your community that can offer some of these incentives to help keep businesses open as well, outside of just the tax incentives and things that our government can provide? Are there other entities that can help out with some of these types of incentives to keep business going and going?
Yeah, thank you, Libby, for that, because I think that, I don't know if Diane or Kim, have you any other words about that or anything you're seeing? Thank you, because I think those are the list of resources we're going to have to figure out how to capture, not only all these big statewide, but it's all that local on the ground type of items, and maybe we'll have another conversation and we'll start to think about how to put a resource guide out for that too. But I don't know, Diane, any comments on that?
I would just say, if you are not part of a business improvement district, or you're not part of a downtown development authority, or you don't have an organizing body, if you are not currently offering some sort of a gift certificate or gift cards, start doing that now. I'm getting actually members of the public reaching out to me and saying, I want to help my favorite business, or I want to help the community and the business community somehow. And if you've got that mechanism for them, that's a way to get money in the door now when you need it.
We are seeing that too. We're getting requests for that. Like, can you help us with online ordering on our website? Some mobile presence, something quick I can get up. How do I pay for it? So we're turning on some of that e-commerce so they can start seeing some cash flow come in, you know, for those. So I think again, this is going to make us that kind of efficient community in the future for that. Anything, Kim, you want to add?
So it doesn't just happen now, but I request that it happens even when we come out of the recovery, that we should always be supporting local. When we keep those economic development dollars, when we keep all those dollars into our community, the more robust our community is, and we're supporting our neighbors, we're supporting our friends and our family and their families. And so as often as you can, spend local. The more local dollars.
Yeah, I agree with that. We're seeing a lot of shop local, and I saw it on your sign, Diane, so blinking or big letters as I drove by, this shop local. And more than ever, I think, you know, these ones, and, you know, and reach out if there's something you want them to see, or ask these local businesses, you know, if there's something, I mean, everybody's willing to work out. Maybe that's something that you know, we don't need to be giving bad reviews or something. We need to be helping them, saying, hey, can you guys make it like this? Or what can I get 4 steaks or a 8-pack of burgers to bring home? And I bet people are going to come. Most businesses are going to be like, you bet, we'll figure that out for you. You know, so be willing to work with these entities as we continue to work together.
And the other thing,
I don't have, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Greg, one more thing that I wanted to add with the importance of shopping local is it's not just supporting those local businesses, but when you think about those business owners, they are part of your community. And the more that we can support our community, they in turn put money back in. They support other things. So we have a larger donation pile. Everybody starts working in this. We support each other. And so it's not just the products and goods and services, but it's also supporting your neighbor.
Yep, I appreciate it. That is totally true. And I think we're looking at like making a conscious effort to, you know, have a meal out, or, you know, well, how can we do that? I think we're going to see more people do that. Hey, Diane, I know you're going to have a webinar next week coming in. And so I just want to give you a second to just talk about that. And then we're about to close out here. I appreciate everybody's time. So I just want to say, you know, you have something coming up next week. Do you kind of want to talk about that quickly?
Right, just very quickly. We are going to be doing something similar to this next Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. It's open to anyone who wants to log in. And the topic is going to be business continuity. So it's going to be talking about what you need to do internally, again, to be prepared for keeping going as long as things are the way they are, making sure your data is secure, making sure your supply lines are in effect, those sorts of things. So it'll be about a half an hour. You can go to the Grand Junction website and sign up. We're hoping that that's something that will help anyone. You don't have to be in the Grand Junction area. These will be principles any business can use.
Great.
That's great information, and everybody will promote that out also. We're going to be hosting this, I'm not sure I'll call it a radio. We're going to call it the GROWL Connex radio show, if I could call it. I just want to have one of those kind of boom mics that come down. Maybe maybe I'll be fake. I'll have a fake one just so it looks like I'm talking into something. But I think we want to get this information out. I will always invite you both onto it to say if there's a few minutes of information, or you'll share information with me. Again, I want to keep positive and help everybody get connected to each other. You know, maybe we'll get banks on and talk about finance. It's kind of a scary time for people that never had to go out and ask for those kind of things. So I really appreciate both of you being on. We'll pull this together as a recording with some links and information, and make sure we get it out to both of you to share with your network. And again, I appreciate the people that are on the call that dialed in. Again, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me, of course, Diane, Kim, and we'll do everything we can to try to connect you to the right people. With that, I wish you both a wonderful weekend, and everybody that called in, and have a very happy Friday.